The transfer window is just over halfway now, but the rumours are still coming. Luckily tonight there's no Marko Naujovic talk, but we're turning our attentions first of all to another West Ham United striker. Biggest out-of-need transfer ever. Spurs are apparently looking to solve their injury crisis with Andy Carroll. Gonzo, the Sun reported a £2 million move that could be on the cards for him to go to, not White Hart Lane, but Wembley for now, maybe White Hart Lane. What did you make of this story when you read about it?
Well, I initially thought it was absolute nonsense. I've got to say, I've just got no faith in where a lot of these papers get their stories from. But that one in particular, I've got to say, is one of the worst ones around. So I didn't believe it because of the source. And then when I sort of look at Tottenham's style of play, you look at how Pochettino's playing with that fast counter-attacking style, and of course Harry Kane's not the fastest player on the planet. He's really not, but he is more mobile than Andy Carroll is, and he has a far more rounded game than Andy Carroll. I just couldn't see him fitting in Pochettino's plans in any way, shape or form at all, but that's very different to what I would like to happen, of course.
Yeah, well, we can disregard this rumour straight away. I think most of us have. Like you said, he sticks out under Pellegrini's system. He's struggling with Pellegrini's system, and that's even, I think Pochettino's football is even worse for Andy Carroll than what Pellegrini's is. So if you can't hack it here, you never hack in that Spurs side. But let's play make-believe a little minute here, okay? Let's play a little make-believe. This had something to it, okay? Would you like to see this transfer happen?
Yeah, well, we have to play make-believe. We wait for full confirmation. We never have a conversation about anything, do we? So, from a West Ham standpoint, I would take this all day long. I just think it's an absolute wonderful piece of business if it can be done for a guy his contract is about to finish, for somebody that's on such ridiculously high wages, to get a fee for him as well and get his wages off the books. It's got to be a really, really good thing for West Ham. I think if it was last season and it was under David Moyes or anybody else actually in recent times, and we weren't struggling, and we were struggling in the league, sorry, should I say, I think it would be worth keeping him around, because you just know Andy Carroll was he might score 2 or 3 goals for the remainder of the season, so it's worth keeping him on there. He could be our saviour. Well, you don't need a saviour if you don't need saving, and we don't need saving. We're, 3 wins away from safety, arguably. So do we need it? No. And what it may allow us to do, if that was the case, particularly if I got rid of Carroll and let's say got rid of Perez, then maybe we do get a striker in. Maybe not the striker, the 40, 50 million pound striker that probably the team wants and needs, but certainly a loan signing where we could pay a sort of loan fee to get somebody decent and to see us through to the rest of the season and finish up as high in the league as possible.
I would actually say no to this. The main reason is because it's Spurs. They refuse to deal with us. I think actually we have to do the same. It's very rare they're ever going to want one of our players currently, where we're both sitting in the league, etc. There's obviously a handful that wouldn't mind at Tottenham, but they're out their reach, etc. But one, I would say no, because whenever we've wanted your players in the past, and there has been some players in the past that's gone on sale or gone out. Wanyama is probably the prime example right now, not getting a game at Spurs, could move on. What do we need? A defensive midfielder. That guy would fit in perfectly, but they just don't do business with him. So no for me. But also £2 million, I get it about getting Carroll off the books and stuff, but £2 million is nothing. Like you said, it's a loan fee. It's not really, it's a fifth of a Hugo these days. You're not going to get much for it. Also, all our strikers apparently want out, or they're keen on a move, except Andy Carroll. He's the only one that's happy to stay here. Perez is looking to go back to Spain. Hernandez has been linked with a move away since he joined, really, Hernandez. He's never really just settled. And then, of course, we've got Marko Naujovic. So I think there could be far too much disruption. If we get rid of 2 of these strikers in the window, which is still possible, while maybe unlikely, I think there's just way much to do. There's too much change, if you like. I think we need some sort of stability. Now, I know we're all waiting for Andy Carroll to break down an injury again, but I still just wonder how it's going to play out with Pellegrini managing Carroll a little bit better than the previous managers had. The prime example being that game he got hauled off at halftime, regardless of what was happening. He was coming off at halftime because he can only play 45 minutes. So I just think, let's just keep Andy Carroll here for the sake of £2 million. We're not going to do anything with that £2 million, are we? So we might as well keep it, because Carroll has got a massive point to prove at West Ham between now and May. Huge one. He needs a new deal at West Ham because he's not going to get that money somewhere else. He knows it. We know it. So the only way of him getting his money is by us activating that 2-year clause we've got on it, because then we don't pay him any extra money, etc. So he needs to prove himself to Pellegrini. He's got all the motivation in the world. And while he missed that big chance against Bournemouth, you could see in his face when he got subbed, you could see how disappointed he was, how upset he was. You could see how frustrated he was. And you know something? While Carroll missed that chance, he cared, okay? And at the same time, we've got a guy who was sitting in London with his family that afternoon who didn't want to be in Bournemouth with the team. His head wasn't right, whatever you want to call it. There's a difference in the two of them there. And I just think it's madness that we're sort of hating on the one player that was proud, I guess, to pull on our shirt and we'll give 100% for the team, etc. So I wouldn't sell him for too much. Listen, if another club comes in, it's a bit different. But with Spurs, it's a no for me. They refuse to play ball with us. Well, you've got to play hard ball back for this one. Now, the other transfer rumour that came out today, and let's call it a rumour, is Zapata. Gonzo, have you heard of this guy? He plays for Atalanta in Italy currently.
Yes, I have. We were linked with him a couple of years ago, and I sort of checked him out then and checked him out again today. And not hugely impressed, Gio, to be fair. I think the fee is ridiculous. That just seems a standard thing. It's, it's almost like walking into the pound shop and everything costs £1. Everyone seems to cost 40 million these days, regardless of whether they're worth it or not. Leggy gets into, once he's into his stride and into his running, he's not slow, but he's not got blistering pace. I'm watching a lot of clips of centre-backs keeping up with him. Bit gangly, bit go-go gadget leg, and I just think he's technically maybe not the guy that we would like to go for. But I've got to say, I've not been hugely impressed by a lot of these strikers that we're getting linked with. I think there's a lot of above-average strikers, and maybe he's above average. I'm not saying he's totally rubbish. There's a lot of above-average strikers that are being offered for that sort of money, and I knew it was bad. I just think even striking this season, and even in the Premier League, I don't think it's anything great. You've got a lot of wide players scoring goals and things like that. And because I went to change my fantasy football team around this evening, and I started looking for other strikers to get in. Actually, there's not that many scoring on a regular basis. And you look around the continent, I don't think there's a whole heap of outstanding forwards. I just wonder if because of that, everybody's asking an inflated fee. He's not for me. I wasn't very impressed, mate.
There's definitely a hype train, if you like, and it's because of social media. I think fans all expect this player that's good on FIFA to be good in real life, and those fees, for whatever reason, have somehow filtered through into actual real football now, and it's sort of like playing ball there a little bit. It's just strange. I know what you're saying there, but I definitely think there's sort of like a hype thing. If the player's hyped up, you can add an extra £10 million on top of what he's actually worth, etc. Yeah, we were linked with him in 2013, back when he was just 22 years old, and we had the fee agreed of 6.7 million. Unfortunately, we didn't get a work permit for him. Now, today I seen this article, and they said we'd approached Atalanta for £40 million. I thought, well, that's a bit strange, considering Sampdoria own him. He's on loan to Atalanta. Now, Atalanta also have a fee agreed with Sampdoria for around £23 million if they wish to make it permanent in summer. I just find it strange that West Ham, to try and sign a player in this window, would go to a club and say, hey, I know you're buying this player in the summer for £23 million. Can we buy him off you for £40 million now? It smacks of a lazy journalism. I think there's laziness, there's idiots, and then there's just lazy idiots. And I think this journalist, unfortunately, fits into the latter for me. I think it's the guy's licked his finger and stuck it out the window and deciding what transfer rumour would stick as everything was going past. This one did. He scored 4 goals yesterday, by the way, in case you didn't know. He scored 4 yesterday, and I think that's why they've gone, oh, well, let's just link this striker to a move in the Premier League. Which Premier League club needs a striker? West Ham. There we go. Link, done, sorted. I think that's pretty much it. I think he's a good player. I don't think he's a replacement for Anatovich. I don't think he's good enough. I don't think he's good enough to come in as our number 1 striker. For our number 2 striker, if you like, certainly. But we ain't going to spend £40 million on our backup striker, are we? So let's move on to some other transfer news. Now, this isn't rumours. This is done, signed, sealed, dusted. And it's 3 loan signings involving West Ham players going out on loan. The first one, Gonzo's happened today. Joe Powell, our under-23 player, the one player's player of the year, if you like, for under-23 so far this season, has gone out to Northampton Town, League 2 side, on loan for the rest of the season. What's your opinion on that one? So you don't look like you know about it.
No, I didn't know that at all, mate. I didn't know that at all. God, I like it. I like it when you do that. Great, good, fantastic news. I like it. I like these players going out on loan. Yeah. Particularly, I think Powell. I've seen Powell, technically very good. Could do with playing against men, and I think there's a big. I listened to a really good radio interview the other day, and I think it was Steve Sidwell was talking. I think Simon Jordan was talking. I think they were talking about Craig Bellamy as well. And I believe Steve Sidwell is a coach at Brighton. Speaks very well, very articulate on the radio, and was very interested in what he had to say. And he was talking about how the young players used to clean boots and used to do all this, and now they're so mollycoddled, if you like. They don't do any of those chores anymore. And he was saying he had a massive fight on his hands to get these young players into a situation where they are ready for men's football. And he said that, because they can go through all of the age groups, but then suddenly a lot of them falter because they get thrust into an environment where suddenly there's men trying to beat them. They've been playing age group, and then grown men just trying to beat them, and they will use fair means or foul. There's all the dark arts and all the rest of it. And he was also going on about how he's got players in the Brighton Academy who they might see. What's the geezer's name? Houghton. They might see Chris Houghton on television and think, "Oh, Chris Houghton, he's a nice guy." But actually, when they get propelled into the first team squad, actually the Chris Houghton that runs the Brighton squad is not the same guy that you see on telly. He's effing and blinding, he's calling people crap, and they get a bit of a culture shock, and it's because they're not allowed when they're younger to almost treat them a little bit nasty, if you know what I mean, to treat them for the big bad world of professional football. So I like it when our young players go out, and particularly if they go out to lower leagues, they show what it's really like. They will meet chiseled journeyman pros who have been playing in the lower leagues for year upon year. They will go out, and whilst no one wants to see it, there'll be someone who want to put their mark on them. There'll be a challenge. They might get ranted at by a manager who's desperately fighting for his job. I like it when players go out on loan, and I think he would really benefit from that.
Yeah, I think Joe's supposed to be one of the best players in the 23s this season. He's got 7 goals to his name as well, but granted, he is a penalty taker, so that does boost his goals up a little bit. So it's good to see him go out on loan, especially to an English League 2 side as well, where he should really be starting games. If he's not starting games at that level, then there's question marks. Of course, he's got to earn it. He can't just walk straight into the first 11, etc. But it's almost like he's ready to be Josh Cullen, if you like, when he went to Brentford. He went in there, held his own, and then eventually won Player of the Year awards. He's obviously only got a few months to do it compared to the whole season. But if he can do anything like Cullen and Burke did at Brentford, then he'll do very well. And I just hope that once he's back at West Ham, if his loan does work out, either gets a Marcus Brown type one, where it's a League One club this time, or he gets a little bits and pieces here and there around the first team squad under Pellegrini. The other 2 loan signings, we're probably never going to see these in a West Ham United shirt again. Gonzo, the first one is Martinez. He was recalled, and he's gone back out to Lugo, another Spanish second division side. He only had 18 appearances for the other team, Rio, and he scored 2 goals. Do you ever expect to see him at West Ham again, or do you think it's going to be loans until someone pays £1 million or something to take him off our hands?
Yeah, I think so. I think he lacks a bit of pace. I think he's probably a good natural finisher. I think he lacks that bit of pace to make him an out-and-out forward. I also think he lacks the technical passing game and some of the other stuff to be able to drop deep and be a number 10. He also lacks the sort of pass and the pace and wing play to allow him to drift out wide. So he's one of those players who's he doesn't really fit into any sort of position, if you like. So I'm sure he'll have a professional career. I don't want to be totally down on him. He will have a professional career. He'll make a living and a fair living playing professional football, but I don't think it's going to happen for him in the Premier League.
The problem for him is in the 23s, when he was banging them in, everybody was excited about it. And the problem is he's gone out alone. It's not really happening, but we've now got someone else in the 23s who's banging him in that we're a bit more excited about, in Alexander Silva. And we've seen him for just a few minutes in the first team, if you like, and he already looks like a better prospect than what we've seen from Martinez. Got nibbles here and there in the first team, whether it's friendlies or competitive games. The other player that's gone out on loan, he went to Malaga on loan at the start of the season and had just 2 appearances. So he was recalled and sent back out to a Swedish side this time, and that's Said Haksabanovic. Another one, there's this sort of like failed experiment in a way. You buy him in, doesn't quite work out, so you just have to. It's an 18-month loan, this one. Said's gone out for 18 months, and there is a fee agreed should they wish to make it permanent next summer. So I'd imagine, from my opinion, I think that's him. If he does half decent over there, which he did well in Sweden when we bought him. So he's gone back out there. You'd imagine he's going to be perfectly fine over there, possibly excel. And I think they might then take on a guy who will be coming up to his peak in terms of his age, etc. And I don't think the fee would be all too enormous either.
No, and he played a lot of games before he came to us, relatively considering his age. I think he played 50 to 100 games or something like that in professional football in Sweden. So, as you say, he's proven over there. It didn't quite work out for him over here. Again, I mean, he came at the wrong time. He needed to come in and really tear up the under-23s, and he was unlucky in that sense because he can either play wide or play through the middle. Well, actually, when he was in the under-23s, Nathan Holland was better out wide, and Quinner, who since has left us, was better through the middle. If he then goes out on loan, which he did to Malaga, which is obviously the link was clear because of Julius and our manager and whatnot, was probably a sensible place to get him out to. But if he couldn't make a splash over there, then it's probably not going to happen. But I do think they're worth taking a risk. They're worth taking a punt because you've got to remember that so many of these players were brought in. Even Declan Rice was brought in. He was at Chelsea's academy first. Nathan Holland has come from Everton. Silva, I don't know where Silva's a Portuguese club. He's come over from there. So they're not shy in approaching and getting other graduates from other clubs. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that because it only takes one to work out, like Declan Rice. Then it's absolutely fantastic. You look at Dean Garner, who's obviously come through the ranks. That's worked out perfectly as well. And if it looks like Silva's coming through, then it's fine. It's fine. Not everyone will work out. If some of them don't and you end up flogging them for £500,000 or £1 million or something like that, then it's good. I understand the academy takes a couple of million, costs a couple of million a year, 2 or 3 million a year. So it's got to be done. And we're doing as well as anybody at the moment.
Yeah, I have to agree. I completely think these types of deals, etc., are more than worthwhile because, like you said, you only need one player to come in, and all of a sudden it pays for all the risks you've taken in the last 12 to 24 months. Just one player coming in and making it happen. We'll still get money for these 2 players. I think it won't be much, but we didn't pay much for them. It's not like we broke the bank to get either of them in here. So it was a gamble. Gambles haven't worked out. We go again. We're bringing another couple of gambles and see if one of them can make it work at West Ham United. The only last news, which we're not going to discuss because we've got a cup of tea coming out on Wednesday. If you have any questions for the show, you can leave them below in the comments of this video, and I'll keep an eye on it, and then we'll bring them up any questions. So do pop your question down for me and Gonzo. Wednesday night we'll be doing a cup of tea and going over some of the West Ham news. And the last bit of news which we will discuss in that show is that Dean Garner has signed a new contract at West Ham United up until 2025. So a long-term deal for the youngster has made his breakthrough this season at West Ham. Anyway, that's been Gonzo. I've been Joe. We've been Hammers Chat discussing the latest West Ham rumours. Tomorrow night we've got a video coming out on strikers that may or may not replace Marco Nav should he depart to go to China. Wednesday, cup of tea with me and Gonzo. Thursday, we've got our preview of the Wimbledon game. And then we don't have anything planned for Friday yet, but by then, journalists will have probably made up some other rumours. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in a bit.